Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially launch day for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Today's the day that everyone gets their hands on the game, and I was actually fortunate enough to get flown down to LA by Activision and Infinity Ward. They put me up in a hotel there, and I actually got to play the entire game early. Campaign, multiplayer, and Spec Ops, you name it, I played it, and it is a great game. I really did enjoy it. But today, we're going to start off by focusing on a couple things to do with multiplayer, and then later on in the day, we are going to have some campaign gameplay going out. So, if you're at all interested in being up to date on all of that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Now, as far as the first video that we are looking at today, what we are going to be doing is going through every single weapon in the game and looking at gameplay from every single one of them and talking just a little bit about how they handle, what they feel like, and what you can kind of compare them to in other Call of Duty games. Later today, we got a video coming out on camos, and then like I said, we're going to be talking about multiplayer. The one other thing I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be streaming for a majority of the day, probably starting around noon, and then just diving in and streaming for the rest of the night. So if you want to check out my Twitch, it's the first link down in the description, and we'll be streaming over there all day. But without further ado, let's dive into it and let's check out every weapon within Modern Warfare. So the first weapon we got here is the Kilo 141. It's a weapon that we haven't used before. We saw it in the beta, but you just simply couldn't use it. Now, this weapon is a pretty fast firing, really low recoil weapon, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. I found it taking around 4 to 5 bullets to kill people, unless you were really up close, and even then it still might have been 4 bullets. Kind of similar to like an ICR from Black Ops or an ACR from previous Modern Warfare games. Like I said, low damage, middle of the road fire rate, very low recoil, and it's actually the first assault rifle that's unlocked when you start playing the game. So very easy to use, but it's definitely not going to be the best weapon in the game. The second weapon is once again another new weapon, and by the way, I'm giving you these in the order that you actually unlock them for each class, but the FAL is the only solely semi-automatic assault rifle. It doesn't go burst, it doesn't go fully automatic, and as far as this weapon goes, I was really pleasantly surprised with it. It actually has a pretty fast fire rate for a semi-automatic weapon. It has really good damage, generally a 2-bullet kill with very little damage drop-off. The one downside to it, and as you can see by the gameplay, it's got a lot of recoil. Now, I'm actually using it here with no attachments, so it will get better than this with attachments, but still a lot of recoil. After this, we've got the M4A1. This is one that was pretty much the best weapon in the game during the beta, and there's really hasn't been any change. I didn't notice anything if they did nerf it at all. It's still really damn good, and definitely is going to be one of the best weapons in the game. Pretty much all I can say about that one. After this, we've got the FR556, and as far as this one goes, again, they didn't really make any changes to it since the beta. Still a semi-automatic weapon. The one thing they did do is fixed a bug where it would go fully automatic. That wasn't supposed to happen. Other than that, it's a really good weapon. Almost always seemingly gets a 1-round burst kill. If not, it would be like one more bullet after that. But yeah, all around a really good gun still. After this, we've got the Odin, the super slow firing assault rifle. It kind of reminds me of the Man of War from some Black Ops games. And as far as this one goes, it's high damage, low fire rate, and even a lower fire rate than the FAL, I believe. Not really my favorite weapon, but it might be better once it has some good attachments on it. I know you can make it into an actually pretty decent semi-automatic sniper, so maybe that's the way to actually use it in the long run. After this, we've got the M13. This is a very fast-firing assault rifle. Really don't have too much more to say about it other than that. The one thing I will say, though, is that it does feel kind of similar to the Kilo 141 that we talked about before. Not identical, but definitely similar. Up next, everyone's favorite, the FN Scar 17. This gun is just straight up a beast. It has a decent fire rate, a little bit slow compared to some of the other ones, but faster than the Odin, and it seemed to be like a 2 to 3 bullet kill most of the time. This gun is going to be very good. The one thing I will say is it seems like the reload speed, aim down sight speed, sprint out times are a little bit long on it to make up for that fast time to kill, but if you can counteract some of those with some good attachments, this thing is going to destroy. The final assault rifle and the last one you unlock is the AK-47, and since the beta, they did give it a little bit of a buff. It seemingly has a little bit better of a fire rate and a little bit less recoil, but that was just based off of feel, really nothing else other than that. Still, I don't think it's going to be one of the best assault rifles in the game, but that might change once I get some more attachments for it. But as of right now, my personal favorite AR is the FN Scar. Unfortunately, you unlock it pretty late. I think it's like in the 40s, but Yeah, that's my favorite one. Moving on to the SMGs, the first one that you unlock is the AUG. Now, it's interesting because all of the SMGs in this game are actually pretty good, all of them that we use, but I would say that this is actually one of the worst ones, but at the same time, it's still a pretty damn good weapon, behaving a little bit more like an assault rifle with a little bit slower of a fire rate, a little bit more range than some of the other SMGs. And speaking of good SMGs, the next one we have here is the P90. This thing is really, really damn good. Has a large magazine, relatively low recoil, and on top of that, it has good damage and range. Like, it's just an all-around really good weapon. Maybe one of, if not the best weapon in the game. A lot of people were using it at the gameplay capture event, and like I said, just an all-around really damn good weapon. After this, we've got the MP5. This one is my personal favorite weapon. This one just reminds me of playing Call of Duty 4 back in the day. Has a very similar feel to it. I think there are other SMGs that are slightly better than it, but that being said, the MP5 is still really damn good and definitely one of the best weapons in the game. After this, we've got the Uzi, and I haven't played with an Uzi in a really long time in a Call of Duty game, and it kind of lives up to its old reputation. It has really bad range and just not a great weapon. I think what this gun is going to come down to is what attachments you use it with, and unfortunately, in the amount of time I had to play, I wasn't able to get all the attachments, so to me, this is probably the worst SMG going into the game, but like I said, that might change once you get some good attachments on it. Then after this, we move into the PP-19 Bison, another new weapon, and I like this one. This is one that I remember playing with back in Modern Warfare 3, and it's just a weapon I really enjoyed using. It actually has a lot lower of recoil than I would have expected, and all around is a pretty damn good SMG. And then the last SMG you unlock is the MP7, and we got to use this one in the beta, and it is simply really, really good. A super fast fire rate, and I'm always shocked every time I use it for how fast the fire rate. It also has some pretty damn low recoil, so definitely another one of the best guns in the game here as well. Moving on to shotguns, the first one we got here is the Model 680. We were able to use this one in the beta. It's pretty straightforward. It's your run-of-the-mill Call of Duty shotgun. If you're up close, it's going to be a one-shot kill. If you're any further away, it's generally speaking going to be a two-shot kill. Nothing really fancy to say about this whatsoever. The next gun we have is the R90 shotgun. This is a really, really weird shotgun. Basically, it's a double-barrel shotgun, but at the same time, it's semi-automatic. So you still can load a bunch of bullets in at a time. However, the first two bullets to come out of the gun you can shoot quickly, and then there's a little bit of a pause before the other two bullets are loaded in there for you to shoot again. Now, the good thing is most of the time, this gun is going to kill within two bullets. In fact, almost all the time, as long as you're hitting both, it will. And honestly, it's pretty well balanced. I found that it does good, and it's not stupid overpowered. And the interesting thing is that the R90 is like the 725, but the 725 has a little bit more range, but it takes longer to reload. Once again, it's a double barrel shotgun, but this one's a breakneck shotgun. So you break the neck, put two bullets in, and reload it. So it has that longer reload time, but does a little bit more damage is basically the trade-off. Personally, though, I think the R90 is better. After this, we've got the Origin 12 shotgun, and this one I'm a little bit worried about. So this is a semi-automatic shotgun with a pretty decent fire rate, and it appears as though it only really takes 2 or 3 shots to kill someone. Now, the range is pretty short, but on some smaller maps, this gun is gonna be pretty good just simply because it's so damn easy to use. We'll see, though. It kind of depends on what attachments are going to actually be available for it to see whether or not this one will be a little overpowered or not. But from what I saw, it's pretty damn good. Moving on to the LMGs, the first one we've got is the PKM. This is a new one, and like the other SMGs in this game, it's pretty damn good. It has a pretty fast time to kill with relatively low recoil. The only downside to this gun is it's got a really, really long reload time. But for an LMG, pretty damn good. Now, the other LMGs we know about already, first of all, the SA-87. This is kind of like your assault rifle LMG hybrid. Has a smaller magazine size, kind of acts a little bit more like an assault rifle with faster aim down sights and sprint out times. But I do have to say it's probably my least favorite of the LMGs. After that, we've got the M91. This is your classic LMG with the belt-fed mag. And as far as this one goes, it's really good. It's probably my favorite LMG. Kills people incredibly quickly, but once again, the downside to it is that long reload time. The final LMG that you unlock is the MG34, and it's kind of like an older school LMG, but once again, the same thing holds true with what we said about the other LMGs. Longer reload times, relatively low recoil, and high damage. Once again, I enjoyed using this gun, and decent weapon all around. Moving into the Marksman rifles, the first one we got in the beta was the MK2 carbine. This one's pretty straightforward. It's a lever action. If you shoot someone in basically the neck and up, it will be a one-shot kill. Other than that, you were looking at a two-shot kill. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to use, but definitely not one of the best weapons in the game. Similarly, the EBR-14 or the M14, whatever you want to call it, is once again a two-shot kill. It's kind of like that semi-sniper rifle unless you get the headshot. And the other thing with this one is it's semi-automatic, so it shoots faster than the Mark II carbine. The downside is there's more recoil and a lot more flinch than there is with the Mark II. Similar and really remained exactly the same as we saw it in the beta. Honestly, basically this is a bad version of the FAL that we saw before. And then finally, the last marksman rifle we have is the Kar 98K, and this one is kind of weird to me because it's a lot more like a sniper rifle than the other two marksman rifles. There's a much larger potential for a one-shot kill, and once you put some good attachments on there, like a good scope, it actually has a faster aim down sights time and sprint out time than the snipers themselves. So I think a lot of snipers are going to end up using this weapon. Oh, and by the way, this map that you're looking at here is a brand new ground war map. It's 32v32. I believe it's called Tarkov District, and there are massive buildings in it, kind of like a battlefield map, and it's exactly what you were seeing here. Really great for sniper rifles, especially if you're on top of one of the buildings. And speaking of snipers, moving into that category, the first weapon we have is the Dragunov, a semi-automatic sniper rifle, and it's actually got a pretty big one-shot kill area on the body, but it just can't compete with the other sniper rifles, as the other two are pretty much always a one-shot kill, and the Dragunov isn't always a one-shot kill. That being said, it's decent, and I would say better than it has been in previous Call of Duty games. Now, the next sniper rifle we have is the HDR, and this one is incredible. By far my favorite sniper rifle. It does have a really slow aim down sights time, but I don't think I ever got a hit marker with it. It's an absolute beast, and like I said, definitely my favorite of the three. And then the final sniper rifle is the AX-50. We saw this one in the beta. It's once again very frequently a one-shot kill. I very rarely got any hit markers with it whatsoever. And really, I was kind of impressed with the snipers in this game. They all seem to be pretty, at least usable. Now, the final primary weapon that we can see in Modern Warfare is something we haven't seen in quite some time. A Riot Shield, and the Riot Shield's actually pretty damn good. You can do well with it, get a lot of score with it, and I'm going to be really interested to see how many people actually use this thing, because like I said, it's actually pretty good. There's really nothing else I can say about it, so I'm curious. What do you think of the Riot Shield? Moving on to the pistols, the first one we got here is the X16. I actually found that this was probably the worst pistol. It didn't have a fast enough fire rate to make up for the lack of damage, if that makes sense. It took about like 3 to 4 bullets to kill with this thing, and the fire rate really wasn't that fast. So it's an okay sidearm, but to be a primary weapon and run around with that, you're not going to do so hot with it. The next one was a 1911. It had higher damage, but a little bit slower of a fire rate, and personally, I preferred that a little bit more, and I seem to do a bit better with this pistol than some of the other ones. After that, we got the 357, and I actually really like this one. It's very similar to the Deagle, where it is a one-shot kill to the head, two-shot kill to the body. I do find that it shoots a little bit slower than the Desert Eagle though, which is kind of insane because the Desert Eagle already has a pretty slow fire rate, but it is a fun weapon to use and I think definitely a good sidearm. After that, we got the M19. We had this one in the alpha and the beta, and it was pretty weak in both of those. Definitely one of the worst pistols in the game. They did, I think, buff either the fire rate or the damage. I can't remember what one it was, so it is a little bit better than at least it was in the alpha, but still definitely not one of the best pistols. And then the last pistol we have is the 50GS, or the Desert Eagle, of course. And this one we kind of already talked about, but it's a two-shot kill to the body, a one-shot kill to the head, relatively slow fire rate, and it's pretty damn fun to use. And then finally, moving on to the launchers, the first one we've got here is the Joker, aka the Javelin. And with this one, if you haven't used it before in Modern Warfare 2 or 3, it basically shoots a giant rocket way up into the air, and it's really good at taking out kill streaks, but it's also really good at area denial. So if there's an open roof on a B flag, it's very easy to take out anyone trying to take it. After this, we've got the Strela P, which is kind of like your lock-on launcher for shooting up at aerial kill streaks. And you see a similar kind of thing with the Pila as well. But then the final new weapon that we have is the RPG-7. We've seen this in many Call of Duty games before, and it works the exact same way. It doesn't lock on or anything. You can either shoot it at infantry, or you can try to hit some kill streaks up in the air with it. But ladies and gentlemen, that is every single weapon in the game at the launch of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'm sure we'll get more weapons throughout the game's life cycle, but that's all we are starting with. And I would love to hear down in the comments what weapon you are most looking forward to using. Also, as always, if you enjoyed the video, it is always appreciated if you hit that like button. And if you're enjoying the Modern Warfare content, we've got a ton more coming. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you have notifications on, and I've got lots of more videos coming for you guys. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but